Alright, just a little update here. I torqued down the rear manifold as best as I could. There were two areas where I could not get a torque wrench to, and that was this bolt right here, and then the bottom right of this manifold, the bottom right one. You won't be able to see it even if I point to it, but bottom right one I couldn't get a torque wrench to. If I had a wobble half inch, then I probably would have gotten to it, but I don't have one. But it's okay. I'm gonna make it nice and tight with a box wrench, and that should be fine. Just bolted up this one. It's not tightened or anything. But I wanted to mention that since these are graphite gaskets, what's gonna happen is as you torque them down, the ones that you've already torqued down are going to get looser. So what you're going to have to do is just keep going over them until all of them stop getting tighter without the click, you know what I mean? So once they all click, then obviously you're done. So all of mine click except those two that I couldn't reach, which I am going to tighten a little bit more. I can see a little more threads on the other ones. And now I'm going to go ahead and torque this one down, and this one looks like it's going to be a pain. I'm going to get the torque wrench on less on this side probably, but it'll be okay. Initial impressions, fitment is pretty good. Look at that. I mean, obviously this isn't even bolted on yet, but it is spot on. You know, the wastegate's going to be a little bit difficult to get to, but once it's in, it's in. You don't really have to mess with it. So far I've had a really good experience with this kit. There's been absolutely nothing that's been fitting bad. However, I haven't fitted the turbo yet, which I will as soon as this is tight. Alright, well, man, that was a struggle. I got the second manifold on, and I could only use a torque wrench maybe on like 3 or 4 of those nuts. You know, in hindsight, I think it would have been better to do bank 1 and then bank 2, purely because this thing, you know, the turbo mount, the one that goes all the way up at the top mount part, that blocks like 2 nuts down there, and or sorry, 2 nuts up there. So it probably would have been better to do the shorter manifold first and then the longer one. Anyway, I got that on. I got this V-band on that I'm tightening right now. It's getting really tight now. I also was wrestling with this wastegate. Got that on. Again, I think I said this earlier. Let me see if I can get a zoom in on this. On this V-band right here that attaches to the manifold, you're going to use the slightly bigger connection that comes in your box for when you buy your wastegate. The slightly smaller connection is going to go right here for your dump tube. As you can see, here's the dump tube. I don't know why they make it so long, honestly. I don't know why, but it's whatever. I got that on nice and tight. I can still move the wastegate just a tiny bit because I didn't tighten the top, as you can see here. I didn't tighten it all the way, so it still moves a little bit. That's okay, I'm gonna tighten it now. But yeah, that's honestly pretty much almost it for the stuff down here. The only 2 things left is to, let me get this flashlight going. Only 2 things left is to reconnect this to this, and then the oil drain. But besides that, I think that should be everything down here. Alright, I just got the turbo sort of sitting on here. As you can see, it lines up on that flange perfectly. Room on each side, as seen here. Fitment is pretty good. It's actually really good. I am not going to have any of those fitment issues that other people have. There's plenty of room to run all the lines needed, you know, all that stuff. Even the wastegate's kind of accessible from the top. What's up, guys? New day here. I'm not going to be able to do too much. I got some stuff planned for later today, so I figured I'm going to go ahead and try and do the drain. As you can see, I took the drain out. Now, there's a reason for that. When I tried fitting the hose that they supplied, that On3 supplied, which is this 5/8 heater hose, right? I did everything I could, literally everything I could, to try and get that barb, which is actually a 3/4, into this 5/8. It would not work. I tried drilling a little bit to make it a little bit wider, like remove some of the inner diameter. That didn't quite work. I'm gonna try it again though. I tried silicone spray, that didn't work. I tried heating it up, that didn't work. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and drill out a little bit more, see if it will fit on this barb. If not, I went ahead and anyway and bought some 3/4 heater hose. This fits over perfectly. Let's see if I can do it with one hand. There we go. See, this one actually fits. On this one, it's like you can see it. It's not gonna go. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and drill out a little bit more on this, even though I don't think it's possible. And then I'm gonna go ahead and install this hose. Okay. My current idea for the wiring and stuff of the boost box and max solenoid. So actually I should probably preface by saying originally the max solenoid comes with the two 1/8 NPT to, I think it's might have been a 1/8 barb, right? But since we're using 1/4 inch or 6 mil, approximately 6 mil vacuum hosing, we're gonna need a 1/4 inch barb. So I bought two 1/4 inch to 1/8 NPT barbs off eBay. They're like $3 or $4 each, and they just thread in perfectly fine. So that's how we're gonna be connecting our wastegate lines and pressure lines, all that stuff. Anyway, so for the boost box, I don't know if this will work yet, but essentially I have the boost box here, two lines, the ground and the actual connection to the boost solenoid. It's right here. This is the connection to the boost solenoid, so it runs right here, 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 here to the boost box. And then the ground, it's this cable, runs to the back. It's just, there's a long cable, so I didn't want to have it all bunched up at the front. And this is actually a grounding post for the injectors, so I figured I could probably do the boost box off that too. If that doesn't end up working, I'll figure something out, like maybe put it down there on that stud or something. I'll figure that out. And the other line, the other end is going to come here, come along, and my plan with this max solenoid was I had some 3M double side tape, and I put some right here. This stuff holds like very well, but I don't know if it'll melt or anything, but it shouldn't because it's in the front. So my plan was to stick it right here onto this this little cover for the headlight. I figured it's far enough away from the heat to where, you know, the heat shouldn't affect it, and all the lines are long enough, and I just feel like it's out of the way here, and it's not just like in your face. If that doesn't end up working, I could probably stick it even here, zip tie it somehow to somewhere down there where the inlet used to be. But yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and stick it down there and see what happens. Okay, so I never actually got to talk about the tapping of the turbo compressor housing. You're going to want to do this to get the most reliable boost pressures. You know, going to the boost box, solenoid, all that stuff for tuning purposes. So what you're going to need is a drill and tap kit. You don't necessarily need the kit if you've got the right drill and everything. So what you'll need is, I believe this is a 7/16 drill bit. Right here, a metal drill bit. And you'll need a, you'll need a 1/4 inch NPT tap. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is, I already did this off camera, you're going to drill a hole for your drill bit, right? Or with your drill bit, you're going to drill a hole. You're going to get your tap, and when you first start it, it's going to be a little rough. It might go a little bit wonky or whatever. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your ratchet with a 12mm socket, put it on there. You're going to put a little pressure from the top and sort of twist it, right? Now I already did this hole, so it's going to be a little bit tighter, but you'll keep going and going and going. And the point I'm trying to make here is, when you do pipe threads, you do not want to thread this all the way in. If you do, you'll never get a tight seal. So you'll see here, I start getting resistance right about here. This is ideally how far you want to stop when you're drilling into the compressor housing. Okay, so just make a mental note that you do not go all the way. I would stop halfway first on the drill tap, and then I would thread the brass barb in and see how far it goes. If it doesn't go far enough to your liking, then put the tap back in and keep threading more. Just to give you perspective, with that much thread showing on the tap, the brass barb, which this is not the 1/4 inch, by the way, this is a 1/4 inch thread, but this is a different barb. This is just one I had laying around. See, when you finally get it going, there we go. Let me get a box wrench. When you finally get it going and you start getting some resistance, you'll use a box wrench and tighten it up. And it's not really that tight yet. Now it's starting to get tight. Okay, so it's starting to get tight, and you're gonna want to give it one or two like extra turns, like 1, 2, right? And with so much thread showing, you can see that there's actually not much on the fitting left. And this is what I would say is a perfect amount. You can go a little bit more, but I wanted to make the point that this tap is not supposed to go all the way through, okay? So stop about where I showed you, and you'll get the barb to go in about this far. And this is going to be a good seal. It's really, it's on there nice and tight. So it was brought to my attention by a couple of other people that have had this kit, that whenever you use the supplied oil drain that they give you, you have to actually clock the turbo a little bit. And as we know, it's not always best to do that, especially on a lower end turbo like this. So as you can see, this is the stock one. If I were to try and place it down, it does not line up. You see that little gap right there? Yeah, so that's not going to work. The only way you fix this is by clocking the exhaust housing a little bit. When you do that, then you throw off the whole drain at 6 and the feed at 12 thing. So I'm not trying to do that. So I was recommended by 2 members to go ahead and purchase this one other drain off eBay. It's skinnier than this. Fits right on there, and he hasn't had any problems with it. So I will also put that in the description. It's about $10.99, free shipping. So yeah, project's pretty much on hold now until I get that. Yeah, I haven't really done much more. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the oil drain now. Well, as much as I've done. Okay, back with the oil drain again. And again, this is the 3/4 inch heater hose. I have it ran up along with the stainless steel line to where it doesn't touch anything. So that's that. What else did I do? There's bank 2. Bank 2 is the gray one. I'm pretty sure. I don't quite remember, but that's bank 2. Bank 1, let's see if you can see it. Right there, bank 1, I'll show you how I wired it, or how I draped it. Alright. So, gray, bank 2, that goes to the back. Black, bank 1. Comes from the connection right here, following all these cables. It really just follows all the cables all the way. I have it hanging right here right now just because I haven't tucked it in. I need to zip tie a little bit. And yeah, it just goes straight down there and hooks in there, or screws in there. So I'm gonna zip tie this now to the block so it's out of the way. Alright, so this is probably how I'm gonna have the wastegate set up. The top of the wastegate means the port that comes out of the top half of the wastegate. That goes to your number 2 on the max solenoid, or if you're looking at the max solenoid face on, it's going to be the left port. Coming from the right port, which is this one that you see right here, it comes to a brass T. One of those ends of the T is going to go to the compressor housing for your pressure source. The other end of the T is going to go to the bottom half of your wastegate, the bottom port of the wastegate. If you have this backwards, you'll notice immediately, and I'm not sure what could happen, but I can guarantee you it's not going to be good. So I will put up a diagram also, a picture of what it looks like, so you can do it for yourself at home. Okay, so I went to Lowe's and I got 2 set screws. This is the size. That's what they look like. And they happen to thread in perfectly. Oops. Alright guys, for the turbo install, you're going to want to use one of these V-band clamps that they provide. And it was really difficult to do this one person, so what I did was I put it on the flange, I turned it so I have the most room in the back, and then I attached it to the brace, just so like I could hold it in place while I work with both hands on the band. And I finally got a couple threads on there, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that up, and then sort of probably position the downpipe at that point. Actually, I'm gonna plug in the drain, which I have running all the way here. Alright, I got the turbo just sitting very loosely on the top mount. I brought the downpipe up just to see, you know, like the orientation of this. I can still twist it. I loosened all of these bolts so I can sort of twist the housing to line it up with the intercooler piping, which I just managed to get on a little bit. As you can tell, I removed wastegate stuff because it was in the way of this piping. So this project just got a lot more tedious because I removed a bunch of stuff I did, I untightened a bunch of stuff I tightened. Good news is I do have the oil drain on. Alright, this was again really hard to record, but I got the downpipe on. Oh man, the lighting here is really bad, but here's the downpipe. It goes all the way up and it connects right here. I'm sorry that this video is gonna be really bad right here because there's like no room for me to show anything. I got the O2s in, and yeah, that's about it. Build's coming along real nicely. One fitment issue, it's not quite an issue, is you know that exhaust hanger part that goes like right here, this weird part, yeah, it doesn't quite line up anymore, but that's not an issue. You don't really need it anyway. Okay, so so far, if you guys have noticed, I unbolted the what is it called, the wire carrier routing thing, disassembled it, and I have the wires routed behind the fuel rails with some of this sort of black protectant stuff. Makes it look a little nicer. Definitely do this as your step one. I made the mistake of not doing it as my step one, and I'm paying the price now because it's so difficult to work around the thing. As you can see, this came loose now, so I'm gonna have to redo that. So definitely do that first. Yeah, I just unbolted it, tucked it all behind here, and reinstalled the fuel rails. Now I'm just adding some heat tape to some of these areas in the valve cover, just to add a little bit protection since I didn't wrap the manifold. Alright, I'm pretty much done now. Did a couple extra things. So, like I said, I routed these cables down here just so they're away from the heat. Put just a little bit of reflective heat tape on the sides. Here's another look at what I did. What else did I do? Oh yeah, so I rewired the boost box. I didn't want to have anything hanging around here, so what I did was I put them back here. Same wiring principle, exactly the same wiring principle. I don't have this on real tight right now. And I ran the the connection to the boost box all along here. You can just lift this up right here, and it's tucked in this corner. You won't be able to see it, but it's tucked in this corner. And the boost solenoid connection and the ground connection are run through this little flap. There's like you can see the wires. There's a little tiny flap right there, and